Do you ever get the feeling like someone's behind you, but when you turn, there's nothing? No footsteps, no shadow, just stillness. What if I told you you were right? Tonight, we peel back the curtain on one of history's darkest legends. A man who vanished from sight, but not from the world. A man who left behind no fingerprints, only fear. Doors opened, bodies dropped, and the whispers, they never stop. Was he a ghost? A scientist? A government weapon gone rogue? Or something far worse? Something that traded its soul for the power to watch forever. Welcome to Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast. Season 3, The Lotus Files. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight we chase the infamous monster. File number 155. The Invisible Man. I hope you're ready, listeners, because even though you can't see him, he is very, very real. Legends of invisible beings predate modern science by a millennia. The Greeks spoke of cap of Hades, a helm that granted invisibility. Ancient Indian texts reference beings called Vetal, spirits who moved unseen, whispering into the ears of the living. In Chinese lore, monks of the yin sect were rumored to train in the art of vanishing, blending with shadow through mental mastery and alchemy. But these were myths. The true tale of the Invisible Man, his rise, his impact, and his horrors would not begin until the late 19th century, hidden beneath the rust and steam of the Industrial Revolution. In 1893, the Griffin Protocols. Dr. Adrian Griffin, a British chemist and physicist, is the first recorded name tied to actual invisibility experiments. A brilliant recluse, Griffin published controversial work in spectral refraction, theorizing how the human body could be altered to bend light around itself. The Royal Society rejected his findings. Days later, Griffin disappeared, literally. Rumors quickly swirled of a ghostly presence haunting the locals. Windows shattered from within, food stolen from locked rooms, faint footprints in ash or snow. One maid claimed a disembodied voice whispered to her for weeks before she quit in madness. Declassified documents from both world wars suggest governments believe Griffin's work was real. Project Nocturne in World War I. British intelligence allegedly pursued human light-bending tech. Several soldiers in the trenches reported shadows that walked without men. Operation Mirrorfall in World War II. Nazi occult units scoured for Griffin's research. In 1943, a remote village in Poland was found abandoned. Doors open, food half-eaten, no signs of struggle. Scorch marks and scorched camera film were the only evidence left behind. Post-war CIA files refer to Entity G, a supposed experiment gone wrong, retrieved from Berlin's ruins. The project was scrapped after several agents vanished while transporting Subject Null. More recently, in the 1970s, a rash of phantom touch crimes terrorized parts of London and New York. Victims reported being attacked by something they couldn't see. No fingerprints, no suspects. Just bruises, torn clothes, and muffled laughter recorded on nearby audio. Conspiracy theorists claim the Invisible Man is not one man, but a syndrome passed down or created by unethical military science. There have been whispers of a silent division, a black ops group of invisible assassins trained in total sensory isolation. They're used in hostage recoveries, undeniable assassinations and eliminations. Parapsychologists and fringe theorists offer other explanations. Quantum ghost hypothesis. Griffin's body exists partially out of phase with our dimension, making him invisible but still physical. Or the cursed alchemy. Some believe invisibility was achieved not through science, but through dark rituals. Griffin was not a scientist, but an occultist. And finally, the unseen curse. A few modern horror scholars claim that the longer one stays invisible, the more one loses their humanity, eventually becoming a malevolent force, like a poltergeist with a human brain. The legacy of the Invisible Man has become a modern archetype of unchecked ambition and isolation. Unlike vampires or werewolves, he is not a monster by birth, but by choice. His power lies in violating privacy, in knowing your secrets, in being there when you think you're alone. His myth serves as a chilling warning. Now, when I discovered this file, I wasn't ready for how personal it was to my great Uncle Sam, as he discovers that sometimes the monster can be a friend. They called him a ghost, not because he was invisible, but because he knew how to erase himself. But the public knew him more specifically as the invisible serial killer, the Hollow Man from the 80s. Malik Voss was a former military engineer with top secret access to experimental optics tech. He was brilliant, disconnected, obsessed with invisibility, not as a tool, but as transcendence, a way to shed the burden of existence, to become a perfect observer, and eventually, the perfect predator. In his early years, Malik had been close with another soldier, my great Uncle Samuel, a tactical specialist known for his field instincts and emotional intelligence. The two came up in the ranks together, bonded in barracks and battlefields alike, often joking that Malik would build the machines while Samuel would break them. Where Malik dissected silence, Samuel mastered presence. They were two sides of the same coin, one technical, one tactical. But as their careers evolved, their paths split. My great-uncle Sam was fast-tracked into leadership roles and special ops, chosen for his intelligence, his empathy, his trustworthiness, and his strict code. Malik, meanwhile, went deeper into black budget science, hidden projects, and untraceable research. The last time they saw each other was during a joint debriefing in Kandahar. At that time, Malik was already changing. He was thinner, quieter, eyes way too still. He told Samuel that humans were too noisy to survive, especially women. At the time, my great-uncle Sam thought he was joking. He wasn't. When Malik disappeared from the Defense Advanced Research Projects wing in the late 1970s, most assumed he'd gone rogue. A few years later, the murders began. 30 women in 5 cities. All alone, all beautiful, all killed in locked rooms. No entry, no sound, no security footage. Each body left in a state of morbid artistry, naked, and in poses, some beautiful, some graphic. Each of them painted with bruises shaped like caresses, sometimes eyes left open. Blood patterns curved and shaped like calligraphy. And always one signature left behind. A mirror, face down, always shattered. It seemed like Malik's reign of terror would go on forever. That is, until he met Lena and Ethan. Lena had been warned about patterns all her life. Her mother was a homicide detective who never solved her last case and never stopped seeing ghosts in crowds. Lena grew up knowing how to read people in rooms, which is why 3 days into her honeymoon with her military husband Ethan, she woke up in the hotel suite in Washington, D.C. with every nerve in her body screaming. She whispered, "Someone else is here." The room smelled like antiseptic and rain. Ethan was in the shower, and something, a voice, whispered near her ear again, breath cool as ice. "You don't even know how radiant you are." She whipped around and found nothing. Her heart raced, and she looked around the room again. But the mirror in the room, elegant and antique, had the thinnest crack running down the middle. Her breath quickened. Now Malik had evolved beyond fingerprints. He didn't just hide, he manipulated. His invisibility was layered. Light-bending microfiber mesh stitched into his skin. Bioactive pheromones that dulled perception. And a masterful psychotic control over silence, ritual, and above all, fear. He didn't kill for pleasure, at least not at first. He killed to remove. He was once quoted as saying, "Beauty must be unmade, or it owns you." In another unsent letter, he wrote, "I strip it to understand it. I disappear so I can witness what remains. The beauty only I can touch." But this time, Lena, she was different. She didn't panic. She composed herself and she watched back. And immediately, he hated that. The lights flickered once, then died. Ethan quickly emerged from the shower to find Lena gone. No sounds, no signs, only a trail of droplets. But it wasn't water, but blood. It led into the sitting room. He quickly called out her name. When she didn't answer back, he called her name again. And from the shadows, he heard, "She's not yours anymore." Ethan, wrapped in only a towel, lunged for his side of the bed, removing a handgun from the nightstand. He whipped around and fired blindly. The round punched into a cabinet, then silence. He whipped around the room, looking for any signs of the mysterious voice. Then Lena screamed. He followed it into the giant walk-in closet, a place thick with darkness. Malik attacked from behind, a blur barely visible, fists like hammers, sending Ethan crashing into a dresser, his nose shattered, his vision was swimming. And as the room spun, a flash of skin, Lena's, flickered in the dark, suspended in the air. But that was impossible. Malik had her in a military hold, strangling her mid-air. As she writhed in pain, she seemed to keep her wits about her, even as she watched Ethan, dizzy, on the floor. Instinctively, she slammed her head backward and hit something. It was solid yet fleshy, and with it came a crunch and a grunt. She twisted herself, planting her feet on the wall, and kicked out. Both she and the invisible Malik went flying. He screamed as he collided into the opening of the room's fire grate, sending spark and embers everywhere from the room's warm, intense fire that lied within. Ethan shook his head and lunged forward and grabbed the fire poker that had spilled onto the floor in front of him. As the new flames spilled from the messy fireplace, the fire cast dancing shadows along the walls and the floor. And in the flicker of it, Malik was visible in parts, but only for brief seconds. A gloved hand here, his left cheek stitched with what looked like surgical mesh. His eye, not missing, but mirrored, catching the firelight within it. Insanely, he was grinning. He seethed. "I spent years becoming perfect, and they buried me," he hissed. "But you," as he pointed at an aggravated Lena, "you saw me. That makes you my favorite. That makes you mine." He lunged forward, but Ethan swung wide. He missed, but caught Malik's shoulder just barely. The invisible serial killer howled, not from pain, but from rage. He had never been tested like this, and it made him impossibly angry. He lashed out with everything he had, slamming Ethan into a marble table that knocked the wind from him. Lena, bleeding from the scalp, crawled to the vanity, where Ethan's weapon had found its resting place. Malik froze when he saw her. "You don't understand," he whispered. "It's not me you're fighting. It's the absence. You can't kill me. You can't kill the space between things. I've done this too long. My victims, they deserved me. They earned me. Their beauty is mine forever. And so will yours. Lena stood up, drew the weapon, and spit. Not today. You like mirrors so much? Then we'll fucking bury you in it. She shot towards the flickering Malik, but missed and shattered the giant mirror behind him. It made it flip backwards, face up towards the ceiling. And in that moment, Malik looked, saw himself, all of himself. He screamed, a shriek that cracked the rest of the glass. It was so loud, it made blood pour from Lena's nose. And in that split-second moment of ego collapse, Ethan drove the poker through Malik's gut. The mesh cracked, the man beneath, pale, scarred, small, began to bleed. And in that moment, the great and terrible Hollow Man serial killer, he didn't vanish. He didn't explode. He didn't curse. He whimpered. They promised I'd be untouchable. Lena knelt down beside him. I've got news for you. You were never really invisible, but you are now. I'm gonna erase you. And one day, you'll be forgotten. Malik died moments later, staring at his own reflection, terrified. The next morning, the government arrived in silence. Ethan and Lena were told it was a sensitive domestic terrorism threat. Their room was destroyed, security wiped, and never used again. But Lena kept a small piece of the cracked mirror, and sometimes, late at night, she dares to look into it again. And so far, she sees nothing looking back. Now I'm curious to know how many of you remember the Hollow Man murders from the early 80s. I was very young, and there's not much info left out there about it. But if you look hard enough, it's there. Now, one of the earliest memories I have of me and my father is going through old photos from the family in our history. And I remember picking up one of two soldiers, young, cocky, happy. And I asked, "Is that you, Dad?" And he said, "No, that's my uncle and his roommate, Malik." He didn't say anything else and quickly put the picture away. Now there are a few notes left in this file, and I assume that's for good reason. Because my great uncle Sam probably felt betrayed by his once good friend and fellow soldier. Because sometimes power can get the best of us. But fellow gardeners, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I have a little behind the scenes update. Nothing major. But I try not to personally promote this podcast too much. I want it to be more organic and grow naturally, word of mouth. As the truth gets out, the right people find my voice, find these files. But I've been approached with an offer to expand this in another direction. So I'm toying with that idea. It would involve video. So if any of you are interested in that, please send me a message, email me at pbgharvest@gmail.com. Any thoughts, any ideas you have, I would love to hear. But until then, share the secrets of the Black Garden. I'll be back again soon when we tackle an exciting and crazy file about the mysterious myth and monster known as the Phantom. As always, I'm Michael, and I've been your host for Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast. Season 3, The Lotus Files. Remember, monsters are real. And just because you can't see the monster doesn't mean it isn't watching you.